And I want to say first off too that I think it's really important to maintain that open mind always, and
Yeah.
to always be aware of like echo chambers. And so I'm like nestled in, I'm a member of the Alt Media United podcast collective, and I would say I'm a part of like what's referred to as the truth community.
Mhm.
And but that's not, I'm also a part of a greater society. Mi amor is, she's mestiza, and she comes, and I'm like nestled into South Phoenix. I'm nestled into like the Mexican American community. And so it's like we're all part of, there's overlapping circles. And that's where the egalitarianism aspect comes into, is where can we find ways to like overlap all the circles. So for example, I'll give you like an example of how people would, they'd take the term egalitarianism and they would say different things about it. I get fired up like anytime anyone starts making comments, and there's a lot of drama right now in the US about the border and like
Mm.
immigration, and people have all sorts of ideas about it. And this is mi familia. So I get fired up when people start talking about like anything with, oh, we need to limit this, we need to limit this immigration, or limit this or that, or they're taking over or something like that. Because first off, there's a lot of misunderstandings about what's going on at the border, and I will get back to the egalitarian concept, but it's all going to fold in together.
Yeah.
There's a lot of misunderstandings about what's going on at the border. It's not that you have like, because in my experience and in my life and with mi familia, like some of the best people that I know in existence are migrants, or have migrated here. And then there's the documentation aspect, and like whether, so I always say like judge people on the content of their character, not the content of their documents. I think that's like an
Mm.
important thing to keep in mind. And there's fuckery at the border, but it doesn't have to do with like one group trying to like take over or come over. The fuckery, this is my opinion now, this is speculation, but I have some pretty good sources that back this up. The fuckery is systematic attempt to destabilize the
Right.
US. Like, and so you have, and I just call it the fuckery because Kyle at the NSA is probably fucking listening to this conversation anyway, but I just call it I call it the fuckery anyway. Like, there's an effort to, people are being ushered in through the border, like systematically by the fuckery. And then you have just like good people, and some of the most beautiful people in the world, in my humble opinion, from Latin America, that are just trying to seek a better life
Mm.
because the fuckery has interfered with their countries, like whether it be Mexico or Central America. The fuckery is like interfering with these countries, and so they're just seeking a better life. So, and I know that obviously these are huge, vast generalizations, and there's all sorts of people from all sorts that, you start talking about stuff, it breaks down. But I think the general idea is, when we get to the idea of egalitarianism, it's like, how do we all figure out a way to get along together and judge each other based on the content of our character, and not based on, for example, the content of our documents, or for example, the color of our skin, or for example, what religion we ascribe to. It's like, it is a spiritual concept. I don't know how else to put it. And it requires like a real like, um, the collective consciousness just has to evolve to be able to accommodate the idea of egalitarianism. Because certain people are going to say, and am I talking too much, by the way? I can
No,
give
no,
you
no.
guys a chance to chime in. Okay. So certain people are going to say to me, they're going to be like, well, what about the resources? With, you have all these people migrating here and there's not enough. First off, I just don't think that's true. I think there is enough, because I've worked in food service my whole life, and we're just throwing out food constantly.
Mm.
So there's constantly food being thrown away. And, like I just see how, especially when I go down to Mexico, like just how different it is, like how people utilize the resources, in my humble opinion, better. They just use what they have better. There's a lot of like waste in the empire, where people just feel like they can just like throw this away and throw that away.
Yeah.
My neighbor is Reynaldo. He's Cuban, and he grew up in Cuba during the special period, when after the Soviet Union collapsed, and they lost like 98% of their trading partners. Cuba did, like overnight, pretty much.
Mm.
And so he talks about how like they had to take what was on the island and they just had to basically like make it work. Like whatever was there, they had to make that shit work. And he's one of the one of the most like skilled fabricators, machinists, mechanics that I've ever met, because he just knows how to like he made me a ball and chain. He literally like I was like, "Can you make me a ball and chain?" He's like, "Yes." And he just straight up made it for me. I can show it to you guys later. And he just fabricated it and he did it like perfectly. It's like this perfect, amazing device. And you know, I gave him the money that I could. I'm like, I wish I could give you more. And then I found two brake pads. I just like was getting gas and I just found two brand new brake pads like right next to my car. So I was able to, but it's like there's a different way of doing things. Like we don't have to all, it doesn't always have to be so incredibly transactional and severe. Like there could be like a way of exchange, barter, like reimagining value. And I think that I've rambled long enough, so I'm going to let you guys throw me. What are your thoughts on all that stuff I just said?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, in like the empire, the Western world, or whatever you want to call it, we are very, very wasteful. Like you can see how the way like if we consume a chicken, for example, everybody was supposed to eat chicken breast, but there's so many different parts of the chicken that just end up going to waste or being thrown away, or I don't know what to do with it. But everyone just seems to buy chicken breast, and I don't know what's happened to the rest of the chicken. But
Yes.
that's like one example.
Yes.
Whereas I did a bit of traveling in Southeast Asia when I was 19, 20.
Mm.
And they literally eat everything and every part of the animal. Like they'll eat the chicken feet, they'll eat everything, and it just makes you
Yes.
think like, what happened? Why have we gone down this like sort of path? Whereas other nations are so much more what's the word, resourceful and work
Yes.
together and make sure everyone's fed, and it doesn't matter whether you're eating a chicken breast or the chicken feet. Everybody gets a piece.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's a really good point. It's and I would argue that it's systematic in a way. Like we've been systematic. The people, the working stiffs, have been kind of like systematically conditioned to not see the entire chicken as usable and to just see the breast in this like pre-wrap thing, and you just want the breast because back in the day, like you would eat like so my I this is a joke, but it's true. Like whatever, I'm just gonna be real with you guys. I do like a little bit of astral projection and stuff like that, and I've had like some past life memories and stuff. And what I'm designed to do is to be in a cave around a fire with some woolly mammoth meat with like my people, and we're just friggin' surviving. And it's like back in that time, like you use the entire chicken, like every little ounce of that chicken. You can use the sinews for like ropes or stuff like that. You even would chew on the bones and just chew them until you can eat them because they have such good, there's good nutrients there for your collagen and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So that's been lost, like, and that's a real loss. And it's, in my humble opinion, it's like a systematic effort to weaken the people, in my humble opinion.
Well, it makes sense from a perspective of like the supermarket has your chicken breast there. You don't need your community to go and eat. All you need to do is work, go and pay the supermarket, whoever the big corporation that owns the supermarket, pay them for your chicken, and go back home and
Yeah.
cook your chicken, and you're done. Like you don't need a
Yes.
community around you to help you eat or to help you do anything because you can just do everything yourself. Or they've set it up
Yes.
in a system where you are able to do everything yourself, and it doesn't matter about anything else. Like I could,
Right.
and I do. I work from home, so I could sit at my desk all day and just earn money, order Uber Eats to my door. I don't have to leave this position I'm in now. Just go and pick my food up at the door and stay here. Entertainment on top, work, everything. Like, what else? Like,
Yeah.
there is no, for me, for basic survival, there's no need for me to really have anyone else around me. That's how it's been set up. The system's been set up like that.
Absolutely. That feeds into the whole 15-minute city thing
Mm.
and kind of like atomizing the people. And because I think that the fuckery is kind of afraid of like people really coming together in a big way, you know? So they want to keep us kind of like feeling like we're isolated and yeah, you got everything you need. You'll own nothing and be happy.
Yeah.
You know, just if you need to wash your clothes, like rent a fucking drone to like take your clothes to the
Yeah.
washer and then it'll drop it back off. Like, I think that the fuckery is afraid of, to be honest, I feel like the fuckery is afraid of the human body, like the human spirit, the human organism, like waking up to our inherent power, because we do have a lot of power, like not just as masses, but as individuals. And I've been having a lot of like realizations about how there's this beauty of, because people in the US, especially, I don't know how it is in the UK, but in the US, there's like a lot of people get all sorts of upset when you start talking about collective action of any kind because they start screaming at you about Mao and Stalin. And you're like, yo, I'm not talking about Mao and Stalin. I'm just talking about like working together to do, I'm just talking about being part of a community. But
Yeah.
there's a sacred tension there between the individualism, and then working as as part of a community. We don't even have to use the word collective because people get so triggered by it. Like just being part of a community. So the individual is important though. Like our being able to foster our individual quirks, our creativity, our personality, our likes, dislikes, like all that stuff is essential, because otherwise, like nature likes biodiversity. And if you have a bunch of individual nodes that are all identical, then that body is going to become sick. Kind of like how
Mm.
with monocropping or whatever, like that. It when you have all the same corn with all the same genetics, then if you have one beetle that fucks up that corn, then like you're done. Whereas if you have all sorts of different varieties of corn, then they can kind of work together and they can help each other out and they can fight off a beetle, you know,
Yeah.
type thing.